Today's Fierce and Nerdy Review is brought to you by Dos Equis, the only beer allowed in Tijuana. Tabbed, cause remember that? Hilarious animal cruelty. And listless audience members.
I can't believe my daddy is dead. I can think of so many people I would rather have died first. Like my mother.
The Wolf Pack is back, hopefully for the last time. Greetings, everyone. I am Joshua Malden, and today we're dissecting Hangover 3, the third and thankfully final chapter in the absurdly successful Hangover franchise. I'm here with my co-host, Low Battery Fire Alarm, since I don't have a ladder tall enough to change the battery. If that bothers you, then I beg your forgiveness. Hangover 3 is a depressing experience, partially because of the movie itself and partially because there are a few sequences that remind you why you loved it in the first place. It's not unlike having coffee with a first love only to discover they've become a bitter, lazy version of their former self. Why did I love them again? The first Hangover was a whole lot of fun. It utilized a rather ingenious plot structure that allowed us to find the surprises out with the characters. And although the characters were a little narcissistic, ultimately they were likable, and that allowed us to go along with the overly schmaltzy ending. The female characters, however, could have used a little bit of work. Part 2 was a lot less fun. It duplicated the structure of Part 1, but it was a whole lot darker, kind of mean-spirited. Some of the homophobia, it was unironic homophobia actually, was a little disconcerting, and the female characters in Part 2 were ridiculous. I mean, that schmaltzy ending is entirely undeserved. Case in point, Stu has unprotected sex with a transsexual Bangkok prostitute, yet doesn't mention it to his bride. It seems like that's something you might want to say before your honeymoon. In fact, when you think about it, Hangover 2 kind of killed those characters. They turned them into dicks with no comeuppance. They just lie to their wives willy-nilly, endangering them. I know it's a bit of a cartoon, and I'm probably nitpicking, but that's the difference between lazy and solid writing. Unfortunately, except for Alan, the Hangover 3 isn't interested in offering anything in the form of character redemption. That doesn't necessarily make a bad movie, of course, but it also fails to provide anything interesting on a plot level. This whole movie feels like a contractual obligation, like they had to be there, so we might as well make something. Andy and the Elephant Man give a tour de force in waiting for the check to clear. John Goodman is completely wasted. I don't know who this is. Zach Galifianakis and Ken Jeong, they do their best. I mean, they're really trying, but they're the only ones that seem to know they're in a comedy. Nothing in the story is funny, there are no twists and turns, and so every bit of humor is based on a quip from them or from their character. What I will give The Hangover 3 is it's probably the most tonally consistent of the franchise. So, you know, there's that. The last thing I wanted to touch on isn't a flaw in the movie so much as something I'm a bit curious about. The first two in the series relied heavily on raunchy shock value. There's very little of that here. What is here is what appears to be Todd Phillips' personal vendetta against the ASPCA. The characters nearly fall over themselves and break the fourth wall telling Peter to shove it. A giraffe gets decapitated, dogs are uncomfortably tranquilized, and Chow smothers a rooster to death with a pillow. I mean, even the giraffe scene should have ended with a smash cut to the newspaper instead of the severed head smashing through the window. I get the feeling there was a conscious decision to take the shock value in a different direction, from over-the-top sex to animal cruelty. There's a lengthy close-up on a hamburger patty that might as well be saying, so I can hurt an animal on camera, but I can't show processed, slaughtered beef. It's an interesting question that takes a lot of cojones to ask, and most people aren't going to put that together. And indeed, I may be looking too far into it, but I can appreciate the statement. That being said, it still doesn't make for a good time at the theater.
You ready to do this?
Yeah. Wait, what are we doing?
Oh. Hey, Phil, kick yourself out a little bit. Alan, you get it?
On the Batman scale of film excellence, with Batman and Robin being the worst and The Dark Knight being the best, Hangover 3 wakes up with a Batman Forever. Don't forget to visit us at fierceandnerdy.com and also on Twitter at fierceandnerdy.